In an age where gods mingled with mortals, two names, Helen of Sparta and Paris of Troy, became entwined in a tale of love and war. Their story, a grand epic, began with a beauty that could captivate any heart and a promise that would ignite a legendary conflict. Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, and Paris, a prince of Troy, were destined to meet by the fates. Their choices would echo through eternity, leading to a decade of bloodshed under the walls of Troy. This is the legend of how passion led to the most famous conflict in Greek mythology. Helen's origins were as extraordinary as her beauty, woven from the very fabric of myth and legend. In the ancient world, where gods often mingled with mortals, Helen's story began with a moment of divine intervention that would echo through the ages. She was the daughter of Zeus, the mighty king of the gods, and Leda, the revered queen of Sparta. According to legend, Zeus transformed himself into a magnificent swan to win Leda's affection, and from this union, Helen was born, her very existence a testament to the mysterious and unpredictable will of the gods. From this divine union, Helen emerged with a beauty that seemed to radiate its own light, captivating all who beheld her. Her presence was said to be almost otherworldly, as if she carried a piece of Olympus within her. Her skin glowed with the warmth of dawn, her eyes sparkled like the Aegean Sea, and her grace was unmatched among mortals. Her fame spread swiftly across Greece and beyond, inspiring poets, artists, and storytellers for generations. The legendary poet Homer immortalized her in his epic tales, describing her as the woman whose beauty could launch 1,000 ships, a phrase that would become synonymous with irresistible allure and the power to shape history. Even as a child, Helen's beauty was so powerful that it drove heroes and kings to desperate actions. The mighty Theseus, famed for his strength and courage, once abducted her in hopes of making her his queen, a testament to the lengths men would go to possess even a glimpse of her radiance. Raised as a Spartan princess, Helen grew up surrounded by luxury and expectation. Her beauty became both her greatest gift and her heaviest burden, setting her apart from her peers and shaping her destiny from a young age. She was admired, envied, and watched by all, her every move the subject of fascination and rumor. Her divine heritage set her apart, attracting not only admiration but also danger. Suitors from every corner of the Greek world came to seek her hand, each hoping to claim the favor of a woman touched by the gods. Yet with such attention came jealousy, rivalry, and the seeds of conflict that would one day erupt into war. Her life was never simple, for she was Helen, the daughter of a god destined for both greatness and tragedy. She walked a path shaped by forces beyond her control, her choices scrutinized by mortals and immortals alike. Helen's beauty became a standard against which all others were measured, a living legend whose very existence could sway the hearts of men and alter the fate of nations. Her story was not just her own, but a reflection of the hopes, fears, and ambitions of an entire civilization. Helen's story is a journey into the heart of Greek mythology, where the passions of gods and humans collide, and where beauty, power, and destiny are forever intertwined. Helen's beauty was legendary, said to rival that of the goddesses themselves, and it attracted suitors from every corner of Greece. Princes, kings, and heroes journeyed from distant lands, each hoping to win her hand and the glory that came with it. The halls of Sparta were soon filled with the most powerful and ambitious men of the age, all vying for the favor of the Spartan princess. This created a grave dilemma for King Tyndareus, Helen's father. He knew that choosing one suitor would inevitably offend the others, and with so many powerful men gathered, the threat of violence or even war loomed over his kingdom. The fate of Sparta, and perhaps all of Greece, hung in the balance. Among the suitors were legendary figures such as Odysseus, the cunning king of Ithaca, Ajax, famed for his strength, and Menelaus, brother of the mighty king Agamemnon. Each man brought lavish gifts, hoping to outshine the others and prove himself worthy of Helen's hand. Tyndareus was deeply troubled. He feared that if he favored one suitor, the rest would feel slighted and might turn against him, plunging Greece into chaos. The tension in the palace was palpable, as every man waited anxiously for the king's decision. It was Odysseus, renowned for his wisdom, who proposed a clever solution. He suggested that all the suitors swear a solemn oath to defend and uphold the marriage of Helen, no matter who was chosen. In return, Odysseus asked for Tyndareus's help in winning the hand of Penelope, another famed beauty. The oath would bind the suitors together, uniting them in loyalty to Helen's chosen husband, and ensuring that none would act against him. This pact was unprecedented, forging a powerful alliance among the greatest men of Greece. Tyndareus agreed to Odysseus's plan, and the suitors gathered in a sacred ceremony. With hands raised and hearts solemn, they swore to protect Helen's marriage, vowing to stand together against any who would threaten it. At last the moment arrived. Menelaus, brother of King Agamemnon, was chosen as Helen's husband. The union was celebrated with great ceremony, and the suitors honored their oath, accepting the outcome with dignity. With the oath binding them, the suitors departed for their homelands, each carrying the weight of their promise. Though disappointed, they were united by a sense of duty and honor, knowing that their word would be tested in the years to come. This oath, forged in the halls of Sparta, would later become the foundation for a mighty alliance. When Helen was taken to Troy, the suitors would be called upon to fulfill their vow, uniting Greece in a war that would shape the course of history. For now, Helen's marriage seemed to bring peace to Sparta, but beneath the surface the seeds of conflict had already been sown. The gods watched, knowing that fate had set the stage for a legendary war. The stage was set for a war that would echo through history, as the choices made in Sparta would soon engulf all of Greece in the flames of the Trojan War. As Queen of Sparta, Helen lived a life of luxury and order with Menelaus. Their marriage seemed stable, blessed with a daughter, Hermione. Helen fulfilled her duties with grace, respected by her people, and loved by her husband. Menelaus cherished Helen, providing her with everything a queen could desire. The oath sworn by the Greek heroes seemed a distant memory. Helen's life appeared settled, her divine heritage a mere part of her story. However, beneath the calm surface, fate was at work. A chain of events was unfolding that would shatter her world. The arrival of a handsome stranger from Troy would test the foundation of her life. The tranquil days of Sparta were numbered, and Helen's peaceful existence was about to be interrupted. A passion would soon eclipse all reason and duty. Helen's tragedy began at a wedding on Mount Olympus, where Eris, the goddess of discord, caused chaos. She threw a golden apple inscribed, "For the fairest," sparking a dispute among Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Zeus appointed Paris, a Trojan prince, to judge the fairest goddess. Each goddess offered Paris a bribe. Hera promised power, Athena wisdom, and Aphrodite the love of Helen. Paris chose Aphrodite, sealing his fate and that of Troy. With Aphrodite's promise, Paris returned to Troy dreaming of Helen. Despite warnings from his family, Paris set sail for Sparta to claim his prize. His decision would lead to a war that would engulf two great civilizations. The judgment of Paris was a pivotal moment, setting the stage for the Trojan War. The love affair between Paris and Helen would have devastating consequences. Paris arrived in Sparta as a royal guest, welcomed by Menelaus with great hospitality. Upon meeting Helen, Paris was captivated, and Aphrodite ensured the attraction was mutual. Under the goddess's spell, Helen saw Paris as the most desirable man she had ever met. They spent time together, their connection growing stronger. Menelaus, trusting and honorable, saw nothing wrong with their friendship. Fate intervened when Menelaus left for Crete, leaving Paris and Helen alone. Paris, with Aphrodite's influence, pleaded with Helen to join him in Troy. He promised her a life of love and adoration, free from her Spartan duties. Helen, under the spell of love, began to listen, her judgment clouded. The stage was set for a decision that would change the course of history. With Menelaus away, Paris seized his chance, speaking of a love decreed by the gods. Helen, enchanted, found her resolve weakening, drawn to the vibrant world Paris offered. Paris promised her a new life in Troy, a city of wealth and splendor. Under Aphrodite's influence, Helen's sense of duty faded. Torn between her past and the future Paris offered, Helen made her fateful decision. She agreed to leave everything behind. Guided by Paris and protected by Aphrodite's magic, they sailed to Troy, welcomed with a grand celebration. For a moment it seemed Paris's reckless act had succeeded, but the seeds of Troy's destruction were sown, and a storm of vengeance was gathering in Greece. The love affair that began with a whispered promise would lead to a war of epic proportions. Menelaus returned to find Helen gone, his palace in disarray. Betrayed by his guest and wife, his shock turned to rage. He sought help from his brother Agamemnon, who saw this as a chance to conquer Troy. The abduction of Helen was an act of aggression against all of Greece. Agamemnon vowed to help Menelaus reclaim his wife and punish the Trojans. They reminded the Greek kings of their oath to defend Helen's marriage. Messengers called upon the former suitors to gather their armies and ships. The response was overwhelming, with heroes like Nestor, Odysseus, and Achilles joining the cause. The personal betrayal of Menelaus escalated into an international crisis. The full military might of Greece was now directed towards the destruction of Troy. At the dawn of a new era, a fleet of over 1,000 ships gathered at Aulis, their sails billowing in the early morning light. This was not just a display of military might, but a testament to the rare unity among the often feuding Greek city-states. Kings and warriors from every corner of Greece answered the call, setting aside old rivalries for a single shared purpose. The air was thick with anticipation and the weight of destiny, as the greatest expedition the ancient world had ever seen prepared to set sail. The greatest heroes of the age stood ready on the shore, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. Bound by a sacred oath and driven by a burning desire for revenge, they were united not only by duty but by the promise of eternal glory. Among them were legends in the making, Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, and many more, each with their own reasons for joining the cause, but all determined to reclaim Helen and restore honor to Greece. High above, the gods of Olympus watched with keen interest, their immortal eyes fixed on the mortal world below. The divine realm was divided, with some gods favoring the Greeks and others supporting the Trojans. Their rivalries and passions would soon spill over into the human conflict, shaping the fate of both armies and individuals alike. The stage was set for a war that would echo through eternity. At the heart of this gathering storm was a love affair that defied kingdoms and reason. Paris, Prince of Troy, and Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, had ignited a spark that would consume nations. Their passion, once a private secret, had spiraled into a conflict of epic proportions, drawing thousands into its wake. What began as a forbidden romance now threatened to engulf the ancient world in chaos. The Greeks prepared for war, their hearts filled with a mix of anger, hope, and fear. It was no longer just about a stolen wife. It had become a war for honor, vengeance, and everlasting fame. Each warrior knew that the outcome would be sung by poets for generations, and that their deeds would be remembered long after the dust of battle had settled. Yet, for Paris and Helen, the happiness they sought came at a terrible price. Their love, once a source of joy, now brought sorrow and regret. They became symbols of both desire and destruction, their choices haunting not only themselves but all those drawn into the conflict. Thus began the Trojan War, the most famous conflict in Greek mythology. Armies marched, swords clashed, and the fate of heroes and nations hung in the balance. The world watched as legends were born and destinies fulfilled on the blood-soaked plains before the walls of Troy. The story of Helen's seduction by Paris serves as the prologue to this grand epic, a tale of love and betrayal that set the stage for a decade of war. Their flight from Sparta to Troy was more than a personal escape. It was the spark that ignited a legendary conflict, forever altering the course of history. For 10 long years the Greeks laid siege to Troy, enduring countless battles, heartbreak, and loss. The city's mighty walls bore witness to acts of heroism and tragedy, as both sides fought desperately for victory. The fall of Troy would become a symbol of the high cost of pride, passion, and the relentless pursuit of glory. Helen's story became a timeless legend, retold for centuries as a cautionary tale of beauty's seductive power and love's catastrophic price. Her face, said to have launched 1,000 ships, remains a symbol of the enduring power of myth and the tragic consequences that can arise from the choices of mortals and gods alike.